What's up, guys? Today we have another review of a film that I've wanted to see for a long time. I actually bought it about a year ago, just haven't gotten around to watching it. I've always been curious about it. Shakma. This stars Christopher Atkins, Amanda Weiss, and Roddy McDowall. It is from 1990. And as you can see from the cover, it is about a crazed baboon. Okay, interesting animal. Not too many baboon movies. Baboon movies. There are some. And interestingly enough, I believe Shakma is actually a type of baboon, although it is spelled usually with a CH, and I believe that it is the smaller of the two. Years ago, I was watching a making of, I believe it was Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger, and they actually had a stop-motion baboon, but that was of the larger kind, so it's, I guess maybe the larger ones are kind of impossible to train. At any rate, this baboon is played by Typhoon, who was also the baboon you saw in the movie The Fly. He actually played two different baboons in that same film. And while I was watching that, I was thinking, wow, this guy's even smaller than that one. Well, I guess not, unless he shrunk, because he's not that big. However, he's quite scary. Yeah, the scenes of him attacking are somewhat effective. We'll get into that. Basically, the premise of this movie is, this seemed to be a somewhat low-budget film. I wasn't really sure what it was going to be. So you have a limited cast of characters. Roddy McDowall plays a medical school professor, and he is they're doing some experiments on this baboon. They have a whole bunch of lab animals, and it doesn't quite go according to plan, and it causes him to become hyper-aggressive. And I believe at one point they think he's deceased, and that is not the case, of course. And that would be all well and good, but that very night they're coming back to the university, the building. It's basically just like, I don't know, 10, 12-story office building looking kind of a building. And they're going to play a role-playing game utilizing the entire building. This is something they've been doing for some time, and the professor actually encourages it, and he participates sort of as like the dungeon master, because he thinks it stimulates their thinking. But now they're going to not just play a tabletop game, they're going to utilize the whole building. So they have clues and prizes and things they have to search out in the rooms, and they're going to communicate via walkie-talkie, as the professor, played by Roddy McDowall, kind of keeps track of their progress. And then they have one young lady who's supposed to be like the princess, and she's supposed to be like the ultimate, prize that they have to reach. And then you have one character who's not really into the game, but he kind of begs to come along, and it's kind of funny because his girlfriend is in the car, so I guess she's just going to wait there for 3 hours while they play this game. Well, she kind of gets frustrated after a while, but anyway, and that kind of figures into the plot. So that's the setup. You've got a number of young students trying to play like a role-playing game when a crazed baboon gets out and attacks them, and that's pretty much the film. Like I said, the actual baboon is pretty small, but he's very fearsome. When he gets going, I mean, this thing can move, and it's pretty cool. I mean, he kind of does these things where he'll jump up and kick off of the wall and change direction. I mean, these things are incredibly agile. So he's supposed to be a genetically mutated baboon. Okay. And there's some scenes when, like, I don't know how they did this. I mean, I guess he was just a well-trained baboon. But when, the characters escape and they lock themselves in a room, when he's on the other side of the room, he wants to get in. He is at the bottom of that door, just like violently, like shaking back and forth and slamming up against the door. It's like crazy. It would actually be very scary to come up against. So, he attacks some of the students, and, since they're split up, it takes a while for them to realize what's going on. And then they sort of have to figure out how to defend themselves against this baboon. And, this is pre-cell phone days, and, they're getting in and out of elevators, and there's lots of going from room to room and locking themselves in rooms, and then sometimes propping open the doors so they can run down the hall and then go into another room and then shut it before the Shakma attacks them. And maybe a little bit too much of that. This movie ran about an hour and 40 minutes, I believe. I think they could have trimmed off at least 10, maybe even 15 minutes there, because it gets a little repetitive. At one point, as a matter of fact, the Christopher Atkins character is with his girlfriend, and then like 10 minutes later, they were split up. And I'm watching the movie, and I was like, wait, how did they get split up? I couldn't even remember, and it wasn't like the next day. I was watching the movie, so that did go on a little bit. I was like, why would they split up? Well, in horror movies, they do that. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Now, effects-wise, there's some pretty good. It's not the goriest movie, the bloodiest movie. He does mess some people up. You see the after effects of him going to town on some people, and it's not pretty. There's not. If he goes after your face, there's not going to be that much left. There's a few scenes where like the little baboon hands come out and scratch and attack, and those look to be like little puppet hands. They were like a little stiff. You know what I mean? But fairly well done, pretty much in keeping with the effects they had at the time. And it was just fun. I enjoyed it. That's pretty much it. It's short and sweet, pretty well acted. Obviously, there's going to be kind of a transformation at the end where, there's part of the end. I will say this: it almost reminded me of Killbots a little bit, the way some of the characters sort of have to sack up at the end and and stop hiding in rooms. Anyway, couldn't think of a phrase there, but like I said, it does go on a little long. I thought, and overall, I enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely. If you get a chance, I didn't pay a lot for it. It's a no frills DVD. I'm glad I got it. Not a lot of special features or anything, but if you get a chance to check this out, go ahead and check it out. How would you guys think this would stack up against Monkey Shines? Or do you guys know of any other killer baboon movies? I know there's been a few. I think there was one set in Africa years ago about a whole, I don't know what you call a group of baboons. I'll just call them a group of baboons that were starving because of a drought and attacking humans, which I think was sort of based on a true story. So that would be terrifying, just seeing what one of these little guys can do. But there you go, guys. Have you seen Shakma? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Later.
Ari Myers from TV's Kate and Alley, featuring Roddy McDowell as Professor Sorensen. And Shakma. Shocking audiences everywhere.